so itchy. God.
Hi everybody, it's Courtney-Jai. Welcome back to my channel. It's very nice to have you guys here. Now I have a very special guest with me. I have Jackie.
It's so funny to hear that in person.
Yeah.
Hi everyone. Sorry, I was like having a little bit of a fanboy moment there.
So yeah, it's really awesome. Jackie's come down today. We filmed some videos. We had a lot of fun. We did a lot of talking, which probably would have been good just to have the cameras on because we were just talking so much.
Yeah.
But then we realised we have to make videos before Jackie has to jump on his train to get back to London.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about Jackie and his coming out experience, first as a gay man and then as an ace, which I'm fully interested in learning about because I know nothing about being ace, and I think
me either.
But you could give us an insight sort of maybe on the beginning of their journey, which I think is going to be very helpful to other people. And I just love hearing people's coming out stories because they're all interesting and unique to each individual. I think you're going to have a very special one.
It's interesting.
Well, interesting is well, that's what videos are made of.
Yeah, exactly.
If you go, it's boring, I came out one day, that was it. I'll be like, well, that was a waste of a video. But yes, we're going to get into that. Now, just before I do get into the video, if you guys want to support either of us on our Patreons, because he makes amazing content on his Patreon, I make semi-good content.
Amazing content. Come on.
But you can go support either of us. We've got reacts where they're unedited. Jackie spends so much time making exclusive videos over there, which are brilliant. So you should definitely go check out his content. It's got some stuff what we filmed today, which is going to be in there, which you're going to see some stuff which won't get into the YouTube video. So that'll be really interesting for you guys. But if you want to support us like that, comments down below, you'll see it there. And yeah, go and support that. And I want to say thank you to everybody who is supporting us already because you guys make these videos happen. Like me and Jackie getting together and collabing, all because of that sort of stuff. You know, we see you guys wanting it, we make it. And that's how these videos kind of go. So enough of me waffling. Let's get into Jackie's coming out story.
Oof. Where do I start? Just from the beginning, I guess.
I was born.
I was born gay. The end. For me, when I look back on like my childhood, it was very apparent that I was gay from quite early on. Like I remember all the way back in kind of first school. At the time, had no idea, but in hindsight, looking back, like
there was hints to you already.
Always, yeah. Like I mean, I was the fabulous dancer kid. Anyway, but like there was a kid in first school. I remember like being absolutely infatuated with him. Just thought he was fantastic.
But you didn't know why. It wasn't like a thing of like, you don't go to that thing like I'm attracted to them.
No, exactly.
But it was more like, wow, why are they so incredible as a person? Like, yeah, I've had that feeling.
Just thought he was like the most wonderful person and just wanted to
be around
him all the time. It's only now as like an adult looking back and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that's
your first crush.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how that goes.
So then, kind of carried on down that trajectory much through my childhood, and it only really came into fruition when I was, I want to say 14, 15.
Around the same age as me.
Yeah. There was a guy who, obviously I won't name for his privacy, but we did theatre together as kids. And we were like the best of friends.
Yeah.
Inseparable. And genuinely never really anything more than that. Like just really, really got on very well. We're in rehearsals together 2 or 3 times a week. And I can't really remember the ins and outs as to why, but at some point it just got a little touchy-feely and that boundary very quickly suddenly got crossed. And it ended up being one of the weekends, because we used to meet up all the time, like whether it was at rehearsals or on the weekends, we would meet up. And we ended up meeting up and we ended up kissing. And it was like the biggest, excuse my French, mindfuck in the whole world. Because a part of me was like, I really wanted that. But then the other part of me was like, I feel gross. So it was this real turbulent time of trying to understand like what that feeling was. And I think what made it even worse was he was so nonchalant about it. Like, I was freaking out.
This is a big deal to you.
Yeah.
To him, it's like, it's nothing. And you're like, no, this has to be a big deal for you because it's a big deal for me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I remember like freaking out when it happened, and then that whole night just like crying myself to sleep and just being like, what have I done? I'm the worst person ever, kind of a thing. And the next day I was talking on MSN.
Oh,
That's retro.
that is definitely retro.
And again, him being so nonchalant about it, but like being like, so when's that happening again? And I was like, oh, okay, this is very interesting. And that kind of continued for maybe a year, I want to say. I think it was a year. And through that year was when I started then, you know, looking it up online and figuring out like what's wrong with me, doing the whole gay quiz. Very Nick Nelson of me.
Sorry about the loud bike. Just like randomly, it's been quiet all day. Random bike decided to come through.
Didn't they know that I'm talking about
Yeah, he's
being
opening
gay?
up his soul here.
Yeah.
How rude.
How dare you?
So yeah, very Nick Nelson.
Very Nick Nelson, you know, crying myself to sleep at night thinking like, why is this happening to me? But then also on the flip side, still like meeting up with this guy and
I mean, yeah, I know.
and kissing
I know.
and but then coming home and being like, oh, it's just a phase. Like, no, I'm straight. It's fine. And just kind of carried on like that for a while. And it was only then at 17 when I met my first boyfriend, or who would become my first boyfriend, that I actually reached a point where I was like, actually, no, I think this is who I am. And I realized quite quickly with this guy that I wanted to be in a relationship with him.
Yeah.
At that stage. Later on in my life, 17, I was nearly 18 actually when I came out. For me to have a relationship with him, I was going to need to come out.
I think it's really scary around the age of 17, 18 because you feel like you're kind of an adult, but you still think you're a kid, but you want to be an adult, and like trying to make that sort of decision. Like, I don't know if people who come out will know this, but like it's a massive decision in your life. Like, it's such a big thing, and it feels like such a grown-up thing. And it's like, if I put that out there, that's what people are going to know me as.
Yeah.
And that's a scary thing to have something define you very quickly, especially when you're like, I mean, at 18, I'm completely the person who I was at 18. So have something like define me like that, terrifying.
Yeah.
So I'd imagine that's exactly how you felt.
Yes, exactly like that. And I always used to have these kind of thoughts of being around like 16, 17 before I met this guy. I'd always planned that I would go to London to go to drama school, which is what I did, study musical theatre. And I always had this idea of like, I'll just wait until I go to London and I'll live this kind of secret life and like I can be myself, but nobody needs to know, kind of a thing. But then I met this guy and was just kind of like, actually no, I feel like I'm ready for this now. This feels right. This feels like a good moment. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna start coming out, and slowly, one by one, started coming out to some of my friends.
Okay.
I couldn't have asked for a better response.
That's nice.
And I was friends, and still am. Like, I mean, there's a whole group of these people who I'm talking about now, who I'm still very, very close with now, and they are very laddie, straight guys.
Well, I think that's really good that you state that, because like I think a lot of us will probably try and like, if we know another queer person, obviously the first person to come out to it is just go to the queer person, because they know exactly how you're going through, and like, but like to do it to like really laddie guys. That's a scary like point, isn't it? Really, because like, I mean, lad culture is kind of like, bro, that's gay. Yeah. So like, you actually being gay, you're like, yeah, it is gay.
Yeah, exactly. Correct. Well done.
You are very observant.
Yeah.
My friend. So that's extremely scary. So knowing that like, you came out to a bunch of lads and they've been really cool about it.
They were the best. Like, genuinely, their reactions were like, and. I think they were also like, yeah, you're the theatre kid. Like you're always.
We've seen that coming.
Wandering around singing and doing all that. So like, sure, whatever. As much as that is a stereotype, they were a bit like, yeah.
Funny thing is, I have a best friend called Joey, and when he came out to me, he was one of the first people who came out to. This is before I was out. He actually gave me the courage to come out years later. I credit him in my end of my coming out story. I put him in the end saying thank you to Joey. So like when he came out to me, feeling like I was just, you know, straight mate, he was like, oh, I'm gay. And I was like, okay, cool. And he was like, no, bro, really, I'm gay. And I was like, if this is a joke, it's not funny. But if it isn't, that's cool, man. Like, and he was like, he kind of expected more. And I was like, you're my friend. You will still be my friend, you know, gay, straight, whatever. You know, as long as you don't murder people. Like, I mean,
that's the cutoff.
It depends who. But I'll get the shovel. But like, it was just like, I think he was expecting me to have more of a reaction. I'm like, I don't need to react because you're a good person. Yeah. You're always going to be my friend. That doesn't change that aspect for me. Yeah. So it's nice. Like, he didn't know I was at the time. So like, I guess he kind of had the same sort of feeling at the time. But like, yeah, you having straight friends who are more laddish coming out, that's awesome. It was
the best reaction I could have hoped for, and I mean, I had a very similar experience only about a month and a half ago with coming out as ace to the same group of people, which was an amazing experience again. But they've always been like the most supportive and wonderful friends I could ask for, so like that was incredible. My family, not so much.
Okay.
I mean, as a prerequisite to this, I don't have a relationship with my family anymore, and that's okay. Don't let anyone getting sad about it. It doesn't bother me anymore because I have.
You've made the family choose.
Exactly, and I'm very lucky that Reese's family which is my boyfriend for those that don't know, have been the best family I could ever ask for. That's nice. Like the important thing. So I was very, very scared to tell my family because I was raised in a extremely homophobic and, not that this relates, but like racist and xenophobic.
I mean, they're against
anything.
They're probably not going to like the fact that you are part of that everything.
Yes.
Which is, I know you don't want people to give you sympathy because you've worked through all that, but it is horrible to hear stories like that, because like there's so many positive stories that I think it's very rare that I get to hear someone who's gone through a bad experience like that. Like I spoke to you earlier about my experience and stuff like that. Like I was really worried of mine. Yeah. But to hear someone who's actually not got the happy ending. Yeah. But has their own happy ending.
Yeah, for sure.
It's sad to hear, and I always like have kids. Different people message me and they're like, oh, same experience, homophobic family, racist family, or religious family. That's the biggest concern. Yeah. And I always kind of say like, this is a difficult one because I can't tell you you're going to have a happy ending. Your parents aren't going to be fully accepting, but you've got to make a decision, which I'm guessing you made the decision to come. That you've got to put your happiness before someone else. They got to live their life. Yeah. They don't get to live yours. Yeah. So in 30 years, are you going to live a life where you're like, I wish I could have just done this? Or are you going to live the life where you went, I had to make a sacrifice, but I'm so much happier for it? Which I'm hoping that is how this is going to go. So
pretty much, yeah. So the way that it went, because I was so scared, I ended up not really doing it.
Okay.
And it then started being that stuff was surfacing on social media with me and the boyfriend. So then there was a confrontation. When I originally made my first coming out video, I was like, I was completely in the wrong. I shouldn't have done that. Granted, not the best way to come out, for sure. But now, as a 31-year-old, looking back almost half of my lifetime ago, the reason why that situation unfolded in the way it did is because of the way I was raised. Yeah. If I'd have been raised in a loving and accepting household,
you're a product of your environment.
Yeah, exactly.
Like if you had them preaching hate, you expect to get hate back. Yeah, so exactly. I mean, and I don't think you're in the wrong at all how you came out. It's your choice how you come out, and if you want to drip feed pictures off and like they see that, at the end of the day, it comes down to their reaction. They could go like, oh, we wish you told us, but we're very happy for you. Or I'm guessing.
No.
It did not go that way.
That
So
was not how that
So you were
conversation
never in the
went.
wrong, because at the age what you were back then,
Mhm.
one the scariest things when you're a kid is that your parents could throw you out.
Mhm.
When you're of legal age, they don't have to take over. So that's the biggest risk. And then when you're in that sort of situation, that's the situation you could have been in.
Mhm.
So instead of telling them like how you did, you waited and you told them
Yeah.
differently. So like, no, I completely respect how you come out,
Mhm.
because everyone's journey is different.
Yeah, for sure. So then there was a whole confrontation and a lot of tears, a lot of sadness, mostly from my side, where I was told I was no longer the same person, I was disgusting, I would never be looked at the same way again, they would need time to...
Well, I'd hope not, because you know, they like men would look at you going, huh, that's a man I can date.
Hopefully. So I have a brother and a sister. Don't have contact with either of them. My sister has a whole gaggle of children now, but at the time had a couple of children. Wasn't allowed to see the kids, any of that. That was a big deal. But that whole period lasted maybe a couple of weeks. During that period, life was really bad. I was very, very sad, wondering if I made the right decision. Should I have kept it a secret? Should I have gone back to that original plan? I was supposed to be moving to London like that September. I think this was just after my birthday. So probably around like the May of that year, and I was going to be moving in the August. Like, should I have just waited and followed on with that plan? Obviously, glad I didn't. So yeah, things were really bad for quite a while. And it slowly kind of fizzled out, and life kind of went back to normal.
Yeah, it just moves forward.
But things were never quite right, and I alluded to this a lot in like a lot of the videos that I've made, where I would bring like my friend Jess home, for example, and for the longest time we referred to each other as like husband and wife. And my mum would genuinely say things like, "Oh, I wish." And I'd be like, "I know you mean that, and that's really hurtful." Or there was one guy that I was in a relationship with a couple of years after I was at drama school. And I was genuinely so stoked to be in a relationship with this guy. Like, I thought he was wonderful, and still think he is wonderful. If for some reason he's watching this video. You probably don't know which one of them you are.
You're all
yeah, they're probably all like, "Is that me? Is that me?" That's making it sound like I've had hordes of boyfriends.
Just all the Patreons.
Yeah. And I remember like we dated it's the first time I'd like gone through the proper like dating process and stuff, and then like we actually got together, and I remember like being so thrilled and coming home. And
There's nothing better than the first month of dating. You're learning new stuff. You're like, "Oh, this is really cool that you like this. That's really cool." And then you're like, "Oh, I really like this." And then when you sit there talking for hours, it gets to like 3 in the morning, and you're like,
yeah,
that's the funniest thing about a new relationship.
It's the best. And then we got to the point where it was like, "Oh, we're actually together now. Like, we've decided this is a thing." And I like went to tell my mum, and she was like, "Okay," like just not phased at all. So. In my last coming out video, I made a statement that I viscerally disagree with, where I was like, my mum is like she had a bad reaction, but is now like the most supportive person ever. She isn't, and hasn't been, and this is why we don't have a relationship anymore. So that happened. I'm out. I go to drama school. I live my normal life. One of the big turning points for me and my family was when Reese and I got together, my current boyfriend. We've been together now nearly 9 years. And we met obviously working on ships. And I was so serious about him from the very beginning. Like, I knew it was different. I knew this was something very, very special, and I was so excited for him to come home and meet the family. And my relationship with my sister post coming out was always very rocky. Just never really saw eye to eye.
Was it like, did you ever have like a goodish relationship with them beforehand? Did your coming out completely change?
When I was younger, we got on very well. Then when I was 14, she had her first child. and we never saw really eye to eye from that moment on. So it was always a very interesting dynamic between us, yeah. By the time I was coming home from this contract with Reese, we'd kind of made up a little bit, and you know, we're on talking terms. And she made this whole big thing about like making sure she was there when we got home so that she could meet Reese, and this whole very weird thing. It was all very bizarre. And Reese and I had plans to do something. I cannot remember for the life of me what it was, but we had to like get up in the morning and go. So she came over, met Reese, and then we went out. And this is back when we worked on ships, and we would have 4 to 6 weeks off between contract. So it was always very much like, okay, home for 2 weeks, holiday for 2 weeks, London for a week, here for a week, go back to work, kind of a thing. So time was very precious. And I remember getting like to the end of my vacation time and making a joke and being like, oh, well, I guess I'm not seeing my sister again before I go back to work. And it was like silence. I was like, what? Like, what's happened? Like, there's obviously something I've missed here, and I just said that in passing. And it ended up being that apparently after we'd left that morning that she met Reese, she went off into this whole kind of tirade about like, I don't ever want to see him again. I don't want him anywhere near my kids. I don't want my kids thinking that this is acceptable, that this is okay. And this whole like wild homophobic
Because that's really strange, because you said like she wanted to meet him as well. So like that was just kind of like,
make it make sense.
It's like I want to meet him so I can hate him with like an image in my head.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like something like, it's almost like it reminds me of being YouTubers and everything. Now when you look in your comments, you've got someone who's like commented on your video like 10 times. It's all like horrible stuff, but they go from video to video.
Yeah.
And you can tell they've watched every video and they're commenting like, it's like, you're gaining nothing from this, and it's just so you can say hateful stuff. Like it's really like, I feel sorry for you. I'm not angry with you because there's obviously something wrong with it. Like I feel genuinely sorry that you feel the need to like be this hateful, and that kind of like, I don't mean to speak ill of your family because I don't know them, but obviously from the circumstances.
Feel free.
But like to go out of the way to be like, oh, I want to meet him. Welcome. Like let's like get introductions and then go. No. Like yeah, keep that away from me, kind of thing. It's just like,
it's very bizarre behavior, and I'll never understand it. But I reached a point with it where just after that was when I met Reese's sister for the first time, and she couldn't have been any more literally the polar opposite, and just like still to this day is just the most wonderful and supportive sister I could ask for. And I think that's what doesn't make my experience less painful, but kind of does make it less painful, as I've at least
you've got
replaced.
Like
I've never had a relationship. I've never met my dad, so I don't know, you can't lament something you've never had, I don't think, really. And now I've kind of got a dad with Reese's dad, and he's been the best dad I could ever ask for. So it does more for me than
that makes me happy. Like that's really nice to know. Like digging for coal and finding gold.
Yeah, for sure.
Like you know, you've taken that step, got rejected, and now you've found something which is 10 times better.
Yeah,
and like,
absolutely.
That's really nice. It's really nice to like, because I'm sure you would have probably explained this to his family as well, and that like they'd probably be mortified that like another family could be like that with someone who's. I mean, I've known you for a little bit, like talking over the phone and stuff, but like meeting you in person, you're lovely. Like there's like you're very. Yeah, once you leave,
I didn't want to be like,
once you leave, I'm gonna say such horrible things about you. But like, you know, it's one of those things where it's nice to know that there is. You found the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow.
For sure.
To take our own analogy of coming out.
Absolutely. But yeah, so then I mean, my experience then with my mum and my brother just deteriorated over the next couple of years, to the point that I, about 2 years ago, took the decision to go, this is actually really toxic for me, and this doesn't serve me anymore. This is only bringing sadness into my life, and I don't need that. You know, middle of COVID, when everything was precious, especially, I was like, I just don't need this in my life anymore. So that's why we don't have any contact at all anymore, and my life is genuinely better because of it.
I think that's an incredibly brave decision to make, because it is scary to, like, family's still family. At the end of the day, as much as they can treat you like the worst thing, it's still done. You feel slightly guilty if you kind of like say something to them, which is honesty, but you know that they've done something bad.
Yeah.
Like, and I feel like that it's an incredibly brave thing to say, like, enough is enough. And I'm going to walk away and I'm going to be happy for it.
Hi.
My cat's just walked in.
We don't have any food for you, sorry. I know. I'm sorry. Yes.
She's like, no, don't touch me. Being ace.
Yes.
My second coming out.
Yes, like second rebirth.
Yes.
That would just be rebirth.
Yes.
So that'd be third.
Please, not another one. I don't need to go through another coming out.
So this is where Jackie's story takes a bit of a turn. He starts to talk about being ace, but he also talks about the topic of sexual abuse and how important that is to his coming out story. This is a subject which is triggering for a lot of people, and I just wanted to pre-warn you before you get into this next section of the video. If you are triggered by subjects such as sexual abuse, this may be the time where you switch off from the video. I appreciate everyone who has watched this, but I want to make sure that you guys are okay and that you're prepared to watch something like this, because it can be quite hard to hear.
Well, you're new to this, aren't you?
I am new to this. Being ace has been something that's been in the back of my mind for a very, very long time. And for those of you that may not have seen, I did a very in-depth and open and honest video about that a couple of months ago, which I know because you posted that a lot of people actually found me because you posted that, so thank you very much. Which explains a lot as to like how I got there. To sum it up, because that's quite a long video in itself. So to sum that up, I always knew I was different, and it comes from a place which I now understand better. I thought as the result of being sexually abused when I was 9, that I was broken, because I didn't ever have the same sexual desires or feelings as what is considered normal.
Yeah.
So I always just felt like I was a little bit weird and I was a little bit broken, and it was always an issue in relationships. Always.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. And I didn't understand it, so I didn't know that it was even a thing. And I speak about this a lot in the video that I made, which is a thank you to Alice, because up until I'd read her books, I had never been exposed to what asexuality is. I didn't know that it was a thing. So it was then in reading her books that I was like, oh shit, this is me.
You're normalised for
Yeah.
the first time. Like, because I guess when you come out as gay, you're like, oh, this is where I found
This is me.
I find my people. And
Yeah.
I'm like, no, my people don't really get me.
Mhm.
This is not my people. And
Yeah.
now you kind of look at the stage, you're like, okay, I found my people.
Mhm.
Like, this is like, you know, almost like a maturity growing from coming out. So, this is, I mean, your experience is horrible. No one should have to go through that. But like, to find solace in finding out that, like, you know, what you feel is normal.
Yeah.
And normal is different in every different way. Like, there is no such thing as normal.
Exactly.
I hate the term normal because it just means like, oh yeah, like that means a cisgender man. That's normal. It's like, no, well, there's millions of people, billions of people, and they're all different.
Yeah.
So normality does not exist.
Exactly.
Like, normality is what you perceive as normal. So whatever you find and what makes you comfortable, that is normal to you.
Exactly. And I'd spent so much of my life perceiving that I was defined by the loss of my innocence as a child. So to finally feel like I understood myself was such a huge revelation to me, and a very, very emotional experience. And like, it's hard to put it any better than how I put it in the video. So I do, if you want to know more about it, please do watch it.
I mean, yeah,
it explains it very well.
There's no point trying to, like, you plan that video meticulously to explain how you feel, and me going like, oh, Do that.
I feel like I just want to like say what I said in the video because I
Yeah.
know it word for word.
So I'll put that video in the description below, and that way you guys can watch it, learn a bit more about being
Mhm.
ace and your journey and
Yeah.
how you experience that. Because I mean, you've just given us such a great story about you coming out, and then like how coming out can change.
Mhm.
Like I think a lot of people feel like when you come out, you put that label on you. That's it. That's you.
Yeah.
You can't change. And if you go to the LGBTQ plus, people kind of try and define you like that.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you can't do that because you're not that. And it's like sexuality and like identification and all that kind of thing, and how that works. People change over time.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm not the same person when I came out at 19.
Right.
I'm now 28. I know myself. I know what
You're
I like.
almost 30.
Yeah, no. You're over 30.
Yes.
Okay, so your experiences in life and the people you're around will change your viewpoint of how you experience everything.
Yeah.
And who you become. Like in 10 years' time, I could be completely different.
I think she agrees.
Yeah. And I always say a label is only there to make you feel more comfortable. It's not there for anybody else. You stating to someone that you're ace, doesn't matter what they think about ace people. The ace label's for you. That makes you feel confident, makes you feel comfortable in your own skin, and you can go on and be the person you want to be because of it. Opinions are just opinions. I always say that opinion is just sound. It's just a vibration in the air.
Yeah.
If you make it mean something, that's what makes it an opinion to you.
And what I love as well, and we were talking about this earlier off camera, is ace is used as an umbrella term for a multitude of different sexualities kind of on that asexual spectrum. And I don't think I will ever publicly say where I feel like I fall on that.
Well, you could change
That.
So, like, you,
True.
yeah, you use the term ace, and anything in there, still ace.
Yeah.
And like that makes you feel comfortable. And you shouldn't have to define that.
No. And I love that I don't feel like I have to. I know that it works for me in my relationship, and I now know who I am, and my relationship is stronger than ever. So all these things are wonderful, but
My cat is wanting so much attention. She doesn't want it at the same time.
Doesn't want it, but wants it.
The other cat's
But
in
yeah.
the box.
You guys could see this. This is wild. So yeah, so that's kind of it's been a long journey, my journey with Ace, and I'm still very much at the beginning of really understanding it. And I'm kind of dedicating my life and especially my life as a content creator to raising awareness for not just asexuality, but aromanticism as well. And
yeah, I think it's a really good thing to do.
yeah, I'm very, very passionate about it now, because I feel like if I'd have known about this stuff when I was younger, my whole 20s would have felt very different.
And like, as said, a lot of my experience in heart stuff with being able to talk about bisexuality, I felt exactly how you feel right now about Ace 10 years ago when I started my channel, because I felt like a weirdo. I felt like I didn't really fit in, even round other like queer people, because of how I act and how I was and where I grew up and stuff. I didn't feel comfortable around people. And from this channel, I always say that my YouTube channel is kind of my therapy at the same time.
Yeah.
I get to work through certain things. My cat is so noisy. I get to work through so much stuff and like develop who I am, that I'm really excited to see where your channel goes with it.
Thank you.
I want to learn more about Ace stuff and like all the stuff what you find out about it, because as a neutral to it, it's kind of like, oh, this is a different perspective.
Yeah.
I would never think that way, but it's really nice to know that like there's someone out there helping people who do think that way about that certain thing.
Yeah.
I mean, we've all got to find our home, I guess.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I want to say thank you for obviously making this video with me. It's been fantastic. I mean, a very interesting coming out story.
Told you.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting it to go there.
We're on the line.
The battery of the camera is about to die, so I'm going to say my famous sign off. I'm going to say love.
Peace.
Yes.
Chicken grease.
Grease, yeah.
I did know it.
And I'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.
Bye everyone.